Hello guys and welcome to this year's season preview that we will going to look ahead to the 2024-25 season. But before we look ahead, I thought it was a good idea to look behind first and compare how last season's predictions fared against the results of the regular season. So here is one table, and you see this is how the standings looked at the end of the regular season last season, and in this the preview rank is where I had ranked the teams. And how wrong was I? The column here, you see in the blue shaded are teams that I underestimated, and the reds are teams that I overestimated. So we can we can see that I think I got 9 out of the 12 playoff teams right, and I was definitely better at guessing or forecasting the places in the top half of the table compared to the bottom half. Of course, there's a million ways that preseason predictions can be impacted by injuries, trades, all kinds of stuff. But it still, I thought it was fun to look at, and I guess teams that were in blue, like the Royals and the Blazers, can be confident that when they see their projections now, that they can easily overachieve on those, or have a better season than the projections I have put together are showing at the moment. So with that gone, let's look ahead, and we'll start with the division that it's often the talk of the town, and it's the Norris. And starting from the top projected team in the Norris, it's no surprise that this is the Grizzly Adams team. And this year, I think it will not be that close. I think the James team is the clear front runner in the division, and overall the Norris will, I think, not be as daunting as in some of the previous seasons. Still a strong division, of course. And looking at the Wolfsburg team, you see the more or less the depth chart or the key players here. You see no blue names, which means that James didn't have to use the auction. This is basically his core returning from last season, and maybe with some additions via trades and stuff. But this is a team that has been built methodically, and it's time to harvest. So basically, it's time to win some stuff for the Grizzlies team. And you see the ratings. This is one of the two teams with 5-star scoring rating, and basically they are projected in the projected Roto standings I had put together to for this. They are first in goals, assists, and second in special team points. Of course, they're first in 2 goals plus assists naturally when they lead the goals and assists, and above average in every category, or average or above average in every category. And you see here some of the notable prospects they have. With Brand Clark, it's also someone who will be able to help the current core, so he's close to contributing. So James is pretty much set up, and one of the few question marks is how will Nitrushkin perform after he comes back, and if he manages to stay clear and out of trouble, this team could be even more scary than it looks even now. And projected to be second in the Norris is the Red Bull team and Brad's team. And the main question with the Red Bull team is how will the newly acquired center core perform. As you see, all of the main centers have been signed at this year's auction, and there are some old farts here. Hopefully they hold up, and together with the young up and coming forwards for Brad like Peterka and Pospisil. They have a strong season. What is not seen here is other than Morrissey, Eric Carlson and Mattison, who were both also recently signed at the auction. Completing the deep core for Brad are Sean Dursey, Thomas Chabot, and Philip Hronik, and this projects to be the top team in points by defenseman, so defenseman points. And I think this is really from 1 to 6 the strongest D lineup. And the 7th defenseman is Josh Manson, who is no slouch either and provides a lot of grit. Speaking of grit, the Red Bull lost some grit when not being able to resign Matthew Tkachuk, but they are still a formidable team. And one of the other questions is what's going to happen with the goaltending. We have had our questions about Elvis for years now. Wolf is coming up. Georgiev was shaky last season, so that's why the goaltending rating is just average for Brad, but it could go either way. I see this being quite potentially even below average season for his goaltending, but it could get better too, because there is some potential definitely. And I'm not even covering much of his goalie prospects. I mentioned only Bussy here, mostly because of the Swayman situation, but we'll talk about that a bit more in the next slide. And the next team, which I think is a very close, is the Sydney Millionaires. So Jay's team is I think really close to Brad's, and they will battle it out for second in the division. And the main question for Sydney is how does year 2 of Bedard go, and also how the completely revamped backline will do. As you see, a lot of blue, both for the goaltending and the defense for Jay. So basically, these are all these are all players shopped at this year's auction, and we'll see really how they do. The projections are not very kind, especially for the defense and the goaltending, so they're mostly below average. But in terms of scoring, Jay will project to do quite good. He's actually second in goals, third in shots on goal, but he's third worst in face-off percentage. But this should improve if we consider that Bedard will follow the more or less the McDavid pattern, or more or less the pattern for young centers, and he will gradually improve, but currently he is like a face-off percentage killer. And the wild card for me, for Jay, is Jeff Skinner, who, if he manages to stick on one of the top 2 lines in Edmonton, could be in for some big numbers, so could prove to be a very good signing. And in terms of up-and-coming prospects, not a lot of blue chippers, but Zary is close to contributing for the Flames, and we have also here Crystal and Ottman listed, but not really the flashiest of names here. Next, projected in the Norris, and this is already below the playoff line, are the Cape Breton Oilers, and Ajay's team, who has been built slowly, but unfortunately for him, it hasn't had enough upward momentum, and there is a bunch of young players here, both already cracking the roster and also in the farm, but few or not enough of them have become really big contributors. He added some veteran help at the auction with Marchand and Hyman, but they just need to step up other than young guys that you see here on the depth chart, like Eklund, Leo Carlson and Evangelista. They're also Bobby Brink, Maki Samuskevich, Pavel Mintyukov, Filip Broberg, Simon Edvinsson, and also the other names that are more long-term prospects. So there is a lot of youth here, but they really start to need to start to contribute more to the main roster. And Jai's team projects to be average or below in every skater category. His goaltending will he's a bit of a question mark. We don't know currently if Sorokin will be healthy to start the season, but he should resume his starting duties for the Islanders. But Ville Husso is in the all of the Detroit limbo, and Jake Allen should at least provide some capable backup duty for the Devils. But that is basically an average at best for the Oilers in terms of goaltending. And the last team here is the defending champion, but now heading to the rebuild, Las Vegas Ice Dice. So Mark is getting ready for some rough years, because if you look on the right for the prospects, so you have Emberson, who is not really a prospect because he's already a roster player, and Red Savage I put here because Red Savage is an awesome name, not that he's an awesome or top quality prospect. Basically the farm is barren for Mark, and he will need to quickly restock. And you see he also shopped heavily at the auction, a lot of blue names here, and also it's quite a crowded crease for him. Definitely one of Korpisalo and Riddick. Riddick has been signed recently at the auction, so he's probably not going, but maybe Korpisalo is going, but his value is now maybe higher with Swayman unsigned. And Carter Hart is also here, but he's just a dead cap hit at the moment. And speaking of the skaters, this team projects to be last in goals and assists and points. Basically, from the 6 scoring categories in the Roto standings that we put, you can have the minimum you can have is 6 points, and the Ice Dice got 9, so they were close to minimum. So I enlisted some bystanders, I mean some qualified jury. So this is the verdict that they came up with for his offensive numbers. And just to put it in the perspective, the Ice Dice project to score 20 goals less than the next worst team, and just for comparison, the 20 goals cover the places from 1 to 7 on the top of the same table. So basically 20 goals is the difference between the top projected team and the 7th projected team in terms of goals. So yeah, the Ice Dice, like Mark said himself, will goon it up this season, and that's why they signed players like Gudas and McCann and Foligno, so they have some guys to do it. But having told all that, in the projections, the Ice Dice are actually closer to the last playoff team than to the last place overall team in terms of projections. So basically, if we turn this Roto standings in points standings, they should be closer to the playoffs than to last overall. So not the worst team we've seen. They will basically lose more games, like 5 to 9 or 6 to 8, than getting blown out, which is a valid strategy, I guess. So that does it for the Norris. Next we look at the Smythe, and here we find at top of the list the front runner for this season, not only for the division but also the top overall projected team, the second of 2 teams with a 5-star scoring rating, and also he's quite excellent, or Elliott's team is quite excellent in both the grid categories and the goaltending. With the goaltending, with the big caveat or disclaimer or whatever you want to call it, the Swayman contract. If Swayman isn't signed to start the season, or even for, I believe he gets signed. That's why I put a backup question here about Pacioretty. I think Swayman gets signed, but still it's definitely something to worry about if you are Boston or the Turtles here. Anyway, you see this lineup is pretty set. Turtles are the other team other than the Grizzlies who didn't need help from the auction to round up his main guys. He basically had some small pieces only to add. You see Michkov here as a young and up-and-coming star. He's penciled in already as a top performer, and he should be. And also for a team that's positioned to be in a dominating position for the next couple of years, the prospect pipeline looks quite good with Demidov, Matejček, and Leroux. So good job by Elliott on both putting together a juggernaut team and not trading away all his draft picks and future assets. And about Pacioretty, he is currently a prime candidate to be bought out, but if he somehow manages to find his form and find a place maybe for the Maple Leafs, which for me seems a very good fit for both the player and team, it could make the Turtles roster even stronger without needing to buy him out. So maybe everything turns up aces for the Turtles, but we'll see how the season goes along. And of course there are many ways, especially in the playoffs, when something can go wrong, but for now this is the top dog. Second, and jumping up a couple spots from last season and from seasons before, are the Citadels, Drew team, and they are slated by these projections to make their first playoff appearance after Drew take over the team and they relocated to Halifax and became the Citadels. They have splashed the cash at the auction and signed Braden Point and Jake Gensel to big contracts. So finally some help for Brady Tkachuk. And also they traded for Rantanen. So this team is vastly improved, especially particularly at forward. It's an excellent forward group, and what you don't see on the board even for the forwards are players like Jonathan Drouin, Gustav Nyquist, Max Domi, and Mikael Granlund. So really top-notch forward group. But on the flip side, I don't know if this is a plan or by design for Drew, but we have heard about the zero goalie approach, and I think he is attempting the zero defense approach here. So he ranks dead last in points by defenseman, and this partially hurts also his assists and special team points rating because he doesn't have any production, and especially now with Luke Hughes, and if he is injured and likely he doesn't get top power play minutes because Dougie Hamilton should get those. Basically Luke Hughes is his only offensive option on the back line, and all the other guys are more or less grid guys. That said, he's projected to be top in penalty minutes with Brady Tkachuk and Jekai and Middleton, all guys that will rack up the penalty minutes. So this is a good team with one major weakness, that scoring from defense is lacking. His goaltending should be good because he has the Carolina tandem, and Carolina should provide good wins and also ratios. And Montembeault, maybe in Montreal, shouldn't be that bad this season. In terms of prospects, he has some good pool coming up, build up from the year. There's guys like Colby Barrow, Kemel, and Miroshnichenko coming up, among others. So this should be a good year for the Citadels, and we'll see how the 0D approach fairs. Next, and we find here the Royals, and I put the question for the Royals is the McDavid 200 point season when, because I think this team gets ever more reliant on McDavid to remain a contender. I know I said I said the same last year, and the Royals were good, not only because of McDavid, but because of some good moves that Luke did. But when we were joking last years about the Royals, this connection is now only McDavid and Bouchard. There are no more current ties to the Edmonton Oilers, so it's not as prominent as it used to be in the previous season. But basically, the scoring depth is really not amazing. It is for a team with McDavid on the roster. It's a surprisingly gritty team or grit-based team. And the goaltending I have ranked as average because Luke employs now the tandem for the Vegas Golden Knights, plus Alex Lyon, who again is in the mix in Detroit. When we'll see who draws the short end of the stick in this carousel. But the Vegas tandem isn't looking dominating, both as a team and as separate goaltender, so that's why he doesn't get anything more than average in terms of rating. And the prospects here are, you see, it was hard to find some good prospects on the Royals farm, and I've put here two names which are also close to contributing right away, which is the team here for the Royals. They need some help for McDavid right now to keep their contender status. I have them as a playoff team, but not really a contender. And next in the Smythe, we find the Steelers, and this here is already far from the playoffs, so I don't envision myself being in the playoff hunt like the previous 2 or 3 seasons. We've always managed to stay about average and make the playoffs, but this time it is not the plan, I would say. So that's why the question is a proper rebuild. I don't think the deep rebuild is what I'm after, but definitely this and maybe next season are seasons that the Steelers will not go for it. We made some, or I made, because I don't have an assistant GM, but I made some signings at the auction. As you see the blue names here, mainly Victor Hedman, Barzal, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Also brought back Cam Talbot, and the Talbot-Mrazek tandem ranks as the lowest in the league, so we should have the worst goaltending around. We also lost on grit, and the scoring is merely okay. Basically, we overall this team is weaker than last season, and below average in all skater categories, and not only skater but also the goaltending, but below average in all but penalty minutes and face-off percentage. So the good side is that I think the farm is pretty well stocked. These are by my evaluation, my top 3 prospects at the moment, but I think there are also some other good up-and-coming prospects. So we're like the only guy from the young guys that is or should be part of the future core is Slavkovsky, and everyone else that you see listed on here on the depth chart is more or less just temporary or trade bait. Maybe Barzal, because he's now signed for 4 years. I could see him sticking around for the full 4 years, but it's like a subtle trade announcement. So, and the next team and the last team in the Smythe is another rebuilding team, the Mighty Camels. So Clint is in for another pretty rough season, especially in terms of scoring. I put the question, how about the top 1A? And he has the Lafreniere and Laferriere, which I always find funny and confusing. So I don't think Laferriere is his strongest right wing, but I wanted to put them on the same line just for laughs, and because it's actually not that far-fetched to say Laferriere is right now the Mighty Camel's best right winger. He has good center depth and also some prospects, and for center depth I had to shift Rossi to the wing so that I have him listed. But basically the more serious question I have for this team is, what is Vasilevsky still doing here? I think it's about time that Clint shops Vasi for some good return, especially if Vasi is having a strong season, because even if he stands on his head and Tampa Bay wins everything, I don't think that makes the Mighty Camels any more close to the playoffs. This is the only team that has close to as little offense as the Ice Dice that we looked at in the previous slide, and are second to last in most categories and dead last in shots on goal in terms of projections. They got some help on at the auction, and Sergachev signs here long term. So these are some building blocks, especially Sergachev, for the future, but they are not really ready for the turnaround, and they have now Askarov, who has moved to San Jose, so he's close to maybe becoming NHL starter soon, and they have some good prospects already in the pipeline, like Oliver Moore, Quinton Musty, and Simashev, among others. But at least, in my estimation, at least 2 years away from beginning to move up the ladder. So we are the rebuilders with Clint in the Smythe division. Next, we take a look at the Patrick. So let me go to my next page of notes. And here, to start, this is very close, I want to say, before even showing the first team, but it was neck and neck. And the rankings had the Brooklyn Aces ahead. Mike has been one of the slow builders in this league, and has put together this team steadily, and now has splashed the cash at the auction to sign Matthew Tkachuk, which for me could be really the missing ingredient, because he is a major contributor in our format and very, very useful. He has Stankoven coming up, and also guys like Shimon Nemeth, who should contribute maybe as early as this season. And the Brooklyn team ranks top 5 in all offensive categories, and he has the only 5-star goaltending rating based on the tandem of Oettinger and Skinner. Wallstedt is here listed just to basically have him in mind, not that I project that he will play a lot of games or that he will be on the Aces roster this season, but even because I project that they will run with only Oettinger and Skinner, this is like bonus points for only using 2 spots to get all your goaltending stats. But they are the clear starting goaltenders for 2 of the top teams in the league, so Mike should have no problems racking up a lot of goalie points, and the ratios should be pretty good too, especially for Dallas, I think. So yeah, that's why I have the Aces is the only team with 5-star goaltending. He lacks in terms of penalty minutes and hits, so that's why his grit rating is below average. And even if Matthew is pretty good, he's not as good in those 2 categories as his brother Brady Tkachuk. And not seen even here on the depth chart are guys like Philip Hittiu, Monahan, Jeff Petrie, and Nico Mikula. So this is a pretty good and well-rounded team with excellent goaltending. And the best thing for Mike about the goaltending is that he's got this tandem locked up for at least the next 4 years. So pretty good. And we might be talking like, if we look back in like 10 years, we might be looking at the Oettinger-Skinner era for the Aces that will maybe span like 6 or 7 years. It's pretty amazing. I love goaltending stability. Anyway, close second in this division are projected to be the Hearst Lumberjacks. And Kevin made a few big signings in the auction. Not the huge variety, but both Tavares and Landeskog got 4-year deals. And both of them are, I would say, pretty risky for different reasons. For Tavares, because I don't know how long he will be worth the price tag. And for Landeskog, we don't know if he will ever return to being the player he was. So those are quite risky signings for Kevin. But most of his core was already in place. He made some additions on D. And he actually is the only team with 5-star grit rating. He projects first in block shots, second in face-off percentage, and third in hits and penalty minutes. So what you don't see here on his D-core are guys like Braden McNabb, Zanheim, Mario Ferraro, and he has 7 defensemen who project to hit 100 or more block shots. So he's tough and he only has tough blocking defenseman, and his goaltending is pretty good. I would say excellent, rather, not pretty good. He has, of course, Shesterkin, who is maybe the best goaltender in the league. And if Charlie Lindgren is the main guy in Washington, he should have an excellent combination that is really very close to what Mike has. And it will come down to more the grit of the Lumberjacks versus the top scoring of the Aces for the division title in the Patrick. But I think in the Roto points, I think there was like 7 or 8 points between the two teams, which in terms of Roto standings for the whole season is pretty much nothing. Third in the Patrick project to be the Kamloops Blazers, and this is very much a playoff bubble team for me, Greg, and it could go either way. The main question I have for the Blazers are the goaltending. So he has these 3 goaltenders are more or less homegrown for him. The court should be the main guy for Seattle, I think. Logan Thompson, I don't know what his role in Washington will be, but the projections and this 3-star projection for Greg's goaltending is based on the assumption that the core is 1A, Thompson is 1B, and Nedeljkovic is more or less a standard backup, like 30 games. So that's, but it could go either way. And in terms of the off-season additions made the Kamloops team quite a lot tougher. So he got sneaky grit guys like Neil Pionk. Also re-signed Trent Frederick, who was a free agent pickup from last season. He also got Matt Roy and JG Pajot, and all now is pretty tough, and it ranks second, projects second in hits, third in face-off percentage, and top 5 in other grid categories. And they have some good goal scorers, but little depth, and they will need to really find some more punch up front, or maybe not find punch, but maybe rely on growth from within for guys like Stützle and Laine to rebound, McTavish to hit another gear. So it is a young team that basically has a lot of room to improve. And you see here the future prospects are mostly players who Yeah, with Lekeremaki, Kikut, and Firkus. I don't know how to pronounce Jagger's name or Jagger's family name, but some of those can contribute maybe even this season, but most of them or the best of them will come in maybe the next 2 or 3 years. So Greg has some nice young team. He's also been patient with his team. Most of his guys, or many of his guys, are homegrown. Well, like Stutzle and Jarvis and Line. Line has been re-signed now at the auction for another 4 seasons. And Crosby has been brought for veteran leadership, which is like automatically improves his face-off percentage. But we'll see. I think Greg will be like in a dogfight for the last playoff position. And on the outside looking in terms of playoff picture, are the Ramparts, who were the stars of the, like Vince. We know what he is up or what he does. He's basically the star of the trading show, and he was again this season around the drafts. So like he got the top selection and he traded it away, and but basically at the end of the off season, when the dust settled, he has positioned himself for another maybe quick rebuild. He has talked a lot of prospects. I would not even pretend to have listed them all here, like Caden Lindstrom, Barty Catton, Yakemchuk, Sam Dickinson, and all the other stuff. They brought back Nate Dock on another max deal to more or less shepherd the kids along. But behind McKinnon, there is not a lot of depth, and also this is the only team that has close to as bad goaltending as my team. With the Philadelphia tandem, I don't know how good Philly will be. I know Vince is a Philly fan, so maybe he enjoys or kind of likes being associated with his favorite team's fortune in terms of goaltending and results. But overall, the forwards are not after McKinnon is not amazing. And yeah, what else I have a notes? Yeah, that's pretty much it. He projects to be last in hits, last in face-off percentage, and bottom 5 in 5 other skating categories. And it's overall it's not close to being the worst team in the league, but also not a playoff team. And speaking of worst team in the league, the Wanderers, they're I think on a road to a long rebuild, but the prospects that the flashy prospects on blue chippers are not there yet. So are we there yet? So it's a pretty rhetorical question that no. So anytime I can sneak a Shrek reference, I will try to do it. He has like guys like Josh Dolan and Marvik Borg, and even though Bransek Nygaard has 2 names, he still only counts as 1 good prospect. So sorry, team. You see here the Wanderers made some bunch of acquisitions at the auction with Clayton Keller, Bjorkstrand, Shea Theodore. Not some of them are also long term, but they are still in the bottom 6, project to be in the bottom 6 in every category, and but still points are their best, so they rank 14th there. So they have some scoring and not completely hapless, but they have, compared to the Ramparts that we talked a couple of minutes ago, they have a pretty shallow prospect pool at the moment. So Montreal will need to at least another draft, and this draft must be spectacular to be able to restock the farm in order to be ready to come out of a rebuild in maybe 2 years. I don't know, but it is quite a long way ahead. And the last division we will look at is the Alums. The Adams I find maybe the most fascinating division this season, because first, because the projected top team is the Upper Canada Patriots, which I would say that if they manage to really win the division, no matter what happens otherwise, I mean, if they have success in the playoffs or not, if they manage to go from the last place overall to winning the division, this has to be first one of the greatest turnarounds, single season turnarounds, and also one of the quickest rebuilds. Of course, this cannot happen with only prospects. That's why Jeremy, for me, is one of the early front runners for GM of the Year, because he managed to trade for both Adam Fox and Lucas Raymond in the big deal that traded away the Celebrini pick, which was later traded again. We'll see in a minute. He also brought back Binnington, who brought him back home after he was rented to the Ice Dice for the championship run, and he's now back for the Upper Canada Patriots. He signed some major players at the auction, and also maybe like the third contributing factor is that some of his prospects are slated to for major roles and start contributing right away, like Lane Hudson and also Zach Benson. Last year, I think, surprised most people with getting a regular spot right away. Also, Devon Levi is here, but not in terms of projecting to be on the roster, just to have a picture of the overall depth of Jeremy's prospects. And here also he has some already, like Potroa and David Jiricek, another two prospects that will contribute sooner. So he accelerated his rebuild with a couple of big trades, and now ranks as one of the better teams in the league. He's above average in every category. His goaltending with Hellebuck and Binnington is very good and could potentially even exceed the 4-star rating that I have given it here. What else have I note? I think that's pretty much it. What you don't see as youngsters on the screen here are guys like Fabian Laiseu and Marat Kusnudinov. Of some of the Russian names, even I find them hard to pronounce. But I think the Upper Canada Patriots are right up there. Not in terms of contenders, but definitely a playoff team. But with all the hype that I put for the Upper Canada Patriots, actually this should be the closest division race, because between the Patriots and the Jackalopes, there were only 2 points in the Roto standings that I put together. So these are basically tied or closely tied. So it could go either way. And for me, Odessa is the other team that is really strong and really improved this season. We all know Max, and that he's the most patient of us all in terms of building his team and being patient with his prospects, maybe even overly patient sometimes. But his main action at the auction was bringing guys back. So he brought back Kyle Connor, Nick Schmaltz, and Rasmussen, and virtually he also brought back Verhage, because he had signed his previous auction deal, which expired, and now he brought him back, although not as cheap as the previous deal. He also has Dylan Gunter coming up. The goaltending situation for Max is pretty interesting, but it gives him... He has to make some decisions, but he has some flexibility, because other than Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who should be the main guy, other than him, he has Spencer Knight and Drieger, Brossois, and also Anunen. So, but all of the other guys, apart from UPL, can be either sent to the farm or dropped without needing a buyout. So I think Max will make the call on his goaltending situation at the last possible second before the cut down to decide who he goes with. And what what I have for the Jackalopes in terms of projections. Interesting is that this is the top team in terms of projected shots on goal. Max has, I think, 9 guys that project to hit the 200 shots per season threshold, which is the most of any team. They project 13 D points, but on the other side, they're bottom 5 in penalty minutes. The D core is very balanced. These are the main guys with Uyghur. Now Uyghur, I would consider his best defense. The guy ahead of Montour and Ekblad. He's just become a overall monster in our format. But also they have Sean Walker and Gostisbehere on the back end, along with Miromanov, who is not really a youngster, but has few NHL games. But he could be a steal from this year's auction. So I think it's a pretty good good team. You also some exciting prospects coming up the pipeline, although none of them will contribute this season. Speaking of contributing this season, maybe Coronato will be the guy to watch for the Jackalopes, as he had some flashes last year, but maybe this year he sticks around and becomes a more major contributor. Overall, I think Max is definitely taking a step up and is neck and neck for the division, and we'll see how long in the playoffs, or how far can he go in the playoffs if he makes it as projected. Speaking of playoffs and projected, we reached the playoff bubble teams in the Adams division. So the Sour Bears project to be the third team here, and Will is going to look to build on his playoff appearance from last season, and a lot of it will hang on how the San Jose rookie tandem does for the Sour Bears. As you see, this is where Celebrini landed after a couple of trades of the top selection of this year's draft. It was on the Sour Bears who selected Celebrini, so they have now strong San Jose flavor, so Orlando team with strong West Coast flavor. And they have also some good other prospects like Brisson and Gabe Perreault. Brisson especially should contribute as early as this season. And this is still a young team that is looking mostly within for the next step. We'll make some good signings, some veteran signings at the auction with Doughty and Burns. Also Konechny should be a major contributor right away. And there is also the imminent, or the question of not if but when we will see a huge season for Jack Hughes. And all of these, maybe they don't come together at the same time, but all of these are positive prospects for the Sour Bears, which are already projected to be a team with solid offense, but also projected to be one of the softest teams in the league. They are last in block shots and below average in every of the grid category, but they have a lot. Like I said, this is a young team that's looking mostly ahead still, and is not hit his prime. What we don't see on the depth chart here are players like Caden Gule, man, Ken Johnson, Jonathan Berggren, and Olen Zellweger. So a lot of talent loaded on the Sour Bears team. But still, the other question, and maybe the more worrying question, is the status of Tatar Demko, because the 3.5 stars rating for the goaltending is mostly based on Demko being healthy. If he's not, and he misses a lot of time, then the situation gets a lot murkier for the Sour Bears. and it might result in them actually not making a second consecutive playoff appearance and missing out. Speaking of missing out, we reached the Scouts, which are the next projected team in the Adams division. Andrew's team is, for me, also on the playoff bubble. I have them in. I have actually both the Solar Bears and the Scouts in. And the Adams sending 4 teams to the playoffs. I like more of a joke, but the question here I have for the team is your over-under on Ovi hitting 30 goals. The projections I put together have him at 33, so I'm taking the over. And actually, this is one of the strong sides of the Scouts team. They project as one of the better teams in terms of goals. And in fact, they are in the top 5 in both goals and shots on goal. They're 4th worst in box shots and 2nd to last in points by defenseman and penalty in minutes. So not very good in the grid category. And yeah, the decor here has been revamped by Andrew. As you see, all the top guys have been signings from the auction. And in fact, the only returning more or less major defenseman for the Scouts is Jared Spurgeon. All the others are recent signees. And what is not seen on the depth chart or neither is on the up and coming prospects is Cutter Gauthier, who along with Maxim Tsiplakov are prospects that might be ready for major roles this season. And this could provide a boost for the Scouts, who should have a pretty balanced offense. And definitely Andrew isn't looking to throw in the towel yet, and he has built a team that will hang and battle for the playoffs, especially at forward and especially offensively. He has some good upside. And maybe if the goaltending is good, especially if Kemper rebounds in away, he can easily toughen up a bit via trades or via free agent pickups and become or improve his odds and making a playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, you never know. And the only team that's clearly outside of the playoff picture here are the Hamilton Tigers. And the rebuild years are here. Put in as a question for the team. And it really looks, after last season, I had projected the Tigers as a playoff team, but they Cam decided to more or less sell. I wouldn't say blow it up, but is definitely not thing in contention for the playoffs for this season, even though he made some of the, I think, better signings in the auction, especially the Stamkos and Werenski signing in the tier 1 were maybe the best deals of the whole tier. But he projects to be 2nd to last in hits, 3rd to last in shots on goal, penalty in minutes, block shots, and his goaltending picture is quite a puzzle. Like Jari is here, and behind him it's an open, I don't know what to call it. Definitely some moves to be made by Cam before cut down, because other than those 5 names you see here, there's also Spencer Martin, who requires a buyout to be dropped. So there are some moves coming for the Tigers, and I don't know. Most likely Wankinen and Forsberg stick around because they are signings from the recent auction, but your guess is as good as mine. But I guess Cam's guess is the best guess. Anyway, looking ahead for the Tigers, they have some good prospects already in place, like those 3 listed here. But I think the stocking of prospects will continue at least one more year for for the Tigers. And that wraps up this season preview. Tell me your bold predictions on the chat. I don't have really most of my predictions I already put up. I will just throw a prediction for the playoffs. I usually don't do this, but my prediction is that we have the Turtles versus the Lumberjacks in the final, and that the Lumberjacks win the title, and then we're never gonna hear the end of it. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it. See you around, and looking forward to getting the season rolling within 10 days. Bye bye.